What's going on, everybody? TJ here from TJ's Take. We're going to break down some MLB baseball. We've got the AL wildcard game tonight, a crazy National League game last night. The only reason I decided to do this one was because we had a huge $100,000 top prize. Last night, FanDuel, I don't know what they were doing. They made way too small of a $30,000 contest that filled up too fast. So then they came back and made a $10,000 contest right after that filled up. So they kind of wised up tonight and made it just a huge one with 100,000 people. I think they just kind of underestimated how many people were going to play these playoff single games. So looks like they've kind of got a hold on it. Only 30,000 people, less than 30,000 people in that contest with a top prize of 100,000. And with these baseball single games, it is so easy to get a lineup by yourself because, like I said before in some of the football podcasts, a guy like Mike Trout can get a 0. A guy like, Albert Almora Jr. can get a 22. So, we're going to look at the best spots. I'm going to tell you some numbers, some interesting things to look at that can help you definitely fill out these lineups. Some guys who I'm higher on, some guys who you can kind of stay away from. But at the end of the day, we can leave as much salary as we want to, and we can still play our core 3 guys, and then the last 2 guys we can kind of fill in as salary guys. The way the game went last night, we were in the number 3 most hitter-friendly park in DC. So this game, kind of a bigger park, but we do have the wind blowing out at 9 miles per hour right now in Oakland. So something to keep an eye on. It's about 69 degrees, so not a huge bump in bats there. 0% chance of rain, dew point at 42. We have the Rays lineup. That's going to be Yandy Diaz, Tommy Pham, Austin Meadows, Travis d'Arnaud, Matt Duffy, Avisail Garcia, Willie Adames, Kevin Kiermaier, and Mike Brosseau. Don't be surprised if they throw some switches in there. They'll probably play Choi tonight. I'm assuming Wendell might hop in the game once a righty's in there for Oakland. So that's kind of some sneaky plays we can get away with, like a video I mentioned. We can play guys who aren't starting, and in baseball especially, they're going to be super low owned, and it can cut like a swing of a bat can change everything. Nobody hits a homer, one of those guys comes in, you have that guy in your top spot hits a homer, you're automatically separated from the field at very, very at a very, very low owned player. So let's kind of go through plate IQ here. And we'll start with the Tampa Bay hitters. Sean Manaea is starting for Oakland. He's got a 27.5 K rate, walks 6.4% of batters. Ground ball rate isn't the greatest at 42%. His line drive percentage is at 17.4. Not a great fly ball rate, which is good for us at 40.6. Hard contact, he gives up 50% hard contact. It is a lot. He is a lot worse against righties, but he still gives up the long ball to left-handed hitters. And his line drive percentage, which is kind of a huge number going on here, especially if we don't expect a ton of home runs, his line drives to lefties, his numbers aren't that great. And Austin Meadows has a very good line drive percentage at about 22.3% of his swings. So that's something to keep an eye on. Maybe more low-owned lefties on Tampa Bay, considering the lefty-lefty matchup. People tend to go with the righties against a left-handed pitcher, vice versa. So Manaea throws a fastball, a slider, and a changeup. Yandy Diaz, hold on, I'm on fastball sinker here. So against the fastball, not a ton to love on this Rays side. This is kind of a weird matchup because I don't like Oakland's pitching, but I love their batters. I do not like, I think Tampa Bay's batters are okay. Tampa Bay's batters are okay. But it just sucks because I liked Oakland's bats so much more, but Tampa Bay has such good pitching. So it's just kind of flip-flopped here, so it's going to be a tricky one. Matt Duffy makes contact 91% of the time on these fastballs, but not a guy who's likely to get you a homer. He might get you a 3 or a 6 with maybe a couple singles or something. And then as far as contact goes, not a lot to love here on this Tampa Bay side when it comes to the fastball. The hard contact is what I'm going to focus on here with Austin Meadows and Travis d'Arnaud, both above 50%. Also Tommy Pham and Yandy Diaz. So with Manaea giving up 54% hard contact to righties, I do love d'Arnaud in this spot. Manaea throws 64% of the time he's throwing a fastball to righties. And d'Arnaud does have the hard contact. He has an average distance of 317. Again, not the greatest. Austin Meadows has a 337, but Meadows is a guy who can also go out there and strike out 4 times. I'm surprised Pham's numbers aren't higher. He's usually pretty reliable. So let's jump to slider here. Manaea throws his slider more to lefties at 35.2% of the time. Only throws it to righties about 15% of the time. So let's look at lefties here. Meadows, not the greatest against sliders, only makes contact 60% of the time. But when he does, though, it's 64% hard contact. So something to keep an eye on there. Again, he only throws 3 pitches, so we have to look at the righties here too. And some of these righties are pretty good against the slider. Pham, that's where he gets good. Yandy Diaz, they both have high ground ball rates. But, that's just kind of a 50-50. So if his ground ball rate's at 50%, his hard contact rate is at 50%. So do what you will with that. And the average distance on that hard contact for Yandy Diaz is at 353 feet. You have to love that with 77% contact. Yandy Diaz, definitely a guy to look at in this one, batting leadoff. Has been out for a while with some injuries, but sometimes it's not always a bad thing. Some hitters come back fresh, and they hit the ball very well. The changeup is what Manaea's second pitch is to righties. Again, Yandy Diaz, 82.8% contact against that pitch with a distance of 319. Austin Meadows against this pitch, that he doesn't throw the changeup a lot to lefties, but he will. Austin Meadows can absolutely crush it. Makes contact 72% of the time with a hard contact rate at 50% and a distance of 399.5. So I don't expect him to throw a lot of changeups to lefties here, but if he does, Meadows can definitely get a hold of one. And again, you kind of have to go with feel too. If you watch a lot of baseball, you kind of have a feel for these guys. If I had to run through, I would say Diaz is kind of consistent. He's going to get you some points. Tommy Pham, very consistent. Austin Meadows is either a big hit or a big miss. Travis d'Arnaud, kind of more big hit, more big miss. He's kind of streaky. He'll go on streaks where he's just seeing the ball really well and making a lot of contact. And he'll go on streaks where he's just trying to get some walks, not swinging the bat as aggressively. I really wish Joey Wendell was in this starting lineup because, he hits line drives, he can hit the double. His ground ball rate is very low against some of these pitches. But again, he's not starting. So if I had to pick some favorite bats on the Tampa Bay side, probably Pham and Diaz are my favorites. Guys like d'Arnaud, it's so cheap batting cleanup you have to go with, but his ownership's going to be high. I'm hoping Austin Meadows goes a little lower owned, but again, he is a big name in this and a big part of this offense if they're going to win this game. Other than that, as far as Manaea goes, his K rate's pretty good. He was hurt a lot of the year too, so I expect him maybe pitch 3 or 4 innings in this one, and then I don't know who they're going to go to. Maybe a Fires or I'll know more later, so if there's anything, I'll try and tweet that out. Let's move to the Oakland hitters now. So they're up against Charlie Morton, a lot better pitcher, 30% strikeout rate. Line drive rate isn't the greatest. So line drives on this team, let's check righty versus lefty because that's obviously way worse against lefties. Righties, righties he's just so solid against. So I think we can focus on a lot of lefties here. I think Matt Olson's my favorite play. To left-handed batters, he gives up about 37.8% hard contact and a 24.9% line drive percentage. So those are kind of the main two I would focus on. Check out the lefties here. Matt Olson, 52.9% hard contact. His line drive rate is at 24.9%. I mean, that alone can immediately make him, I mean, with how consistent he is, makes him one of my favorite plays here. Let's check weighted on base average. Matt Olson has a 400. Kana has a 412, but he's a righty. Profar, not the greatest numbers, but he has had some success against Charlie Morton, but with a very small sample size. This lineup has yet to be confirmed. I mean, it should be in here any second now, so I'll let you know if that comes through. But we'll go through kind of everybody. Charlie Morton likes to throw the fastball to lefties, throws it 20% of the time to righties. He has a knuckle curve that he likes to throw to both sides of the plate. Fastball sinker he likes to throw to righties. That's kind of his pitch over a fastball in comparison to a fastball to lefties. So let's check out just the regular old fastball here. And let's check out the left-handed hitters. Matt Olson, again, stands out here. Another guy is Profar when it comes to the fastball. He's a switch hitter, so he's going to be batting lefty in this one. Let's go to fastball cutter. That's kind of a pitch he likes to throw. That's kind of his strikeout pitch to the right-handers. And Mark Kana, he loves that pitch. If Seth Brown makes this lineup, I forgot to mention him, he is a great play. Again, not a huge sample size on Seth Brown, but a guy who can make hard contact, who sees the ball well, and can definitely put the ball in play. He can absolutely crush this ball. I mean, his average distance on here to this fastball cutter is 407 feet. Again, that's a very small sample size after coming in maybe about 3/4 into the season, I think. But love Seth Brown there. Let's jump down to this knuckle curve. Matt Chapman hits the knuckle curve well. Matt Chapman, see, that's a tough one, just kind of like the other side when we were talking about Austin Meadows. Kind of a hit or miss. Matt Chapman does not have great numbers against Charlie Morton, but he is the guy who can change the slate with a swing of a bat. So if you're making a lot of lineups, definitely have some exposure to him. If you're only making a few, I think you can fade him. My only worry is if they do bring someone else in, I mean, Chapman can hit the ball a very long ways with one swing of a bat. Matt Olson against this knuckle curve, 61.82% hard contact rate. Everything is lining up great for Matt Olson here. What's kind of surprising to me is Marcus Semien, his weighted on base average for all these pitches is pretty high, which is a really good thing. It's just the other numbers are just so average. But Semien's a guy, their leadoff guy, who's going to get on base. Probably my second or third favorite option on this team. It's just the numbers aren't pointing that way. But feel-wise, I think Semien's definitely going to come into play. Let me go look at those fastball numbers on him again. So not so bad against a regular fastball, which he should see a good amount, even though he is a righty. He's either going to see that or a knuckle curve, or that fastball cutter for a 2-strike pitch. Against a fastball cutter, not the greatest. The knuckle curve, he makes contact. He does hit the ball on the ground about half the time, though, and doesn't have insane hard contact, so you're just looking to get on base with that pitch. If he does see a fastball, though, 40% hard contact, .387 WOBA, controlled WOBA 412, 296 ISO. Those are all good numbers. Makes contact about 81% of the time, not too bad. So if I had to pick my favorites here, obviously Matt Olson, then probably Semien, and then if Seth Brown's in the lineup, I love Seth Brown. And another guy you can't forget about is Laureano. He's not in this projected lineup, but I think he's going to start. I haven't gotten that lineup yet. But Laureano is just, if he doesn't start, he's going to get in the game. He's too reliable of a guy to not play in this, one and done. He's going to get out there at some point. Let's go check some batter versus pitcher stats. See if we can find anything here. So Marcus Semien in 16 plate appearances, he's walked twice. He has 5 hits, 3 singles, 2 doubles, no triples, no homers. So he's batting .357 against Charlie Morton. Very good. On base percentage of .438. Jurickson Profar, 11 at bats, 4 hits, 2 singles, a double, and a home run. Only 3 strikeouts, batting .364. Matt Olson, 12 at bats, 4 hits, a home run, 2 walks, 2 singles, and a double. He's batting .333. Have to love that. Stephen Piscotty, another guy I forgot to mention. If he breaks this lineup, which I think he will, he seems to be healthy from what I'm hearing. Only bats .200 against him, but a guy who, I mean, in a big game like this, a guy like Stephen Piscotty is very reliable. And now here's where we get to Matt Chapman, also batting .200. Only has 1 strikeout in 15 at-bats against Charlie Morton, so he can put this ball in play. I just think it's a huge risk. And another guy we haven't talked about with a crazy amount of power is Chris Davis. Kind of coming around towards the end of the year here, only batting .143 against Charlie Morton. Again, he did struggle for a long time this year, had a wrist injury, which can obviously very much affect your swing. But a guy to look out for who can definitely hit the long ball, especially with the wind blowing out in this one. Travis d'Arnaud, 2 for 2. I mean, again, that doesn't mean much. 2 for 2 and a walk, so 3 plate appearances against Sean Manaea. He's batting cleanup at a very cheap price. Something to keep an eye on. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all we got for batter versus pitcher. The feel of this game for me, just looking at what these projected lineups are, we can go ahead and just build one here. Let me get over there and see what I like, what fits. If I can find it here. Okay. So it is good to try and pick out the long ball in this one, but this game being in a huge park, you don't necessarily have to build your lineups around 5 guys who you think are going to hit the long ball. Guys who are going to get the ball in play, maybe throw them in utility spots. A guy who's going to put the ball in play and can hit the ball, and who can also hit the long ball, like Matt Olson, I think is a great option up top. A guy like d'Arnaud at 4,500 is a great option up top. Kind of sneakier, playing a very, very cheap guy up there. So I'm going to start this out by putting Olson up top. And stacking can be huge in these, but to be super different and try and hit that 100,000 like we saw last night, it was the 2 batter in the top spot, Yasmani Grandal, and then the 6 batter in the second spot for Milwaukee. So we went 2-6, and then you needed 1 batter and what's his name, Trey Turner for the Nationals, and then I think it was Grisham, and it was Soto, obviously, and that was the lineup. So again, it doesn't need to be perfect. So I think in the second spot, I'm just going to go with Tommy Pham. I think in this kind of game, as reliable as a hitter he is, I think he's going to get on base a couple times at least. So I like that, pairing 2 separate guys on separate teams together just to be different. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug in Yandy Diaz. We have the 1 and 2 hitters for Tampa. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to plug in Seth Brown, hoping he makes this lineup. I think he will, but we'll have to see. So that leaves us $8,000 salary remaining. And I actually like throwing d'Arnaud in there, and I think that can be really sneaky. And that way you're leaving $3,500 salary. So you have the 1, 2, and 4 batters with $3,500 salary for Tampa, and then maybe the 4 and 5 batters or the 4 and 6 batters for Oakland in that lineup. And you're still leaving $3,500 salary. I think that's a great build for a tournament like this. I don't think it's very risky. And that's the great part about leaving salary. If you can have a very small amount of risk and still leave that much salary, that's exactly what you want. Let's go through another one here. I can't believe that lineup hasn't came through yet because Tampa Bay pretty much got theirs out about 30 minutes ago. Okay, so this one, let's go more Tampa Bay heavy. And let's throw Meadows in that top spot just because he can do a lot of damage here. And let's see. He's the 3 guy. Let's go pick. Let's take Matt Duffy just because of his contact in that second spot. I like him batting in the 5th hole. I don't think a lot of people are going to have him in one of those top 2 spots. Again, I don't think he's going to get you a homer, but I think there might only be 1 home run, if any, in this game. So I like Meadows up top there. Let's follow it with Duffy. And let's go get Profar just because he seems to have success against Morton and seems like a playoff type guy. And let's follow him with Piscotty, another playoff guy. So the 7-8 batters on that side. That leaves us 11,000. So we can pick anyone we want to. And I like going 7-8 and then rounding back around to the 1 batter and Marcus Semien here. So you have, and with $2,000 remaining, if you don't like Matt Duffy in that spot, just go get the 4 batter and d'Arnaud. I mean, it's only $500 more. It's not like it's going to be that much, that too big of a difference. You're still leaving $1,500 salary on the table. And with these 5 players, these are just 5 players I like. You can mix it around any way you want to. If you want to put Semien up top, Profar in the second spot, and then follow with Piscotty. I mean, 7-8, they both get on base. 9 walks, Semien hits a grand slam. I mean, it can go, again, baseball's another single game where you can play situations. I mean, that's more likely to happen than what happened last night where we get kind of spotty home runs. But I don't think you necessarily need to stack. I just want to make that clear as well. But the situations, inning by inning situations, are things to pay attention to as well. So let's kind of build another one with kind of my favorite guys. I want to throw Olsen in there where he's not in a top spot. I want to stress too, don't forget about Laureano. He's not in the projected lineup right now, but I think he will make the starting lineup. Let's go ahead and put, the guys I like up top are pretty much d'Arnaud, Olsen, Semien, Pham. Those are my favorites, but let's go ahead and make one of Mark Canha up top. If he bats 4 or 5, I think he'll have a lot of success. Obviously, if he gets up there and hits a homer, which he's very capable of. A very good hitter, very good contact hitter, basically an Oakland A's type guy. He can kind of do it all, and he does it all well. Nothing like super great. He's not terrible at anything. He's just a very solid player. So if we're making that out, him and then Pham, I'm just going to make this like the most solid hitters on here, most solid players. Laureano, Piscotty. Actually, I decided we were going to throw Olsen in here. So let's throw Olsen in here, and we can still get to Piscotty. So I'm only throwing 1 Tampa Bay guy in there with a bunch of Oakland guys, which I think could be in our favor because I don't think that many people are going to attack Morton and play a lot of Oakland guys. So that 4-1 stack could help us out a lot in these huge tournaments. Other than that, that's all I got for you. Pay attention to that Oakland lineup. Don't be afraid to take a chance if you're playing a lot of lineups and put one of those other guys in a top spot because come maybe 5th, 6th inning, maybe even 4th, there could be some switches in there. A guy like Abrosio could be taken out, so be careful with him. A guy like Willie Adames might get taken out. Kiermaier will probably stay in for defensive reasons. Matt Duffy could be taken out. So just stuff to pay attention to there. Other than that, and if Laureano isn't starting, I don't see a way he doesn't play in this game. So if they throw like a Grossman or Pinder in there or something, expect them to be taken out for him. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Have a good one. Go win some cash.